She was sitting across from him at dinner when she decided to leave. He didn't notice. He was talking about his day, about the promotion he didn't get, about the traffic on the way home. She nodded. She smiled. She passed him the salt. But somewhere between the appetizer and the main course, she had already packed her bags in her mind. He wouldn't find out for another 6 months. This is the thing nobody tells you about endings. They don't start with a slammed door or a screaming match. They start in silence. In a moment so small you wouldn't even think to remember it. She left before she left. And if you've ever done this, or had it done to you, you know exactly what that means. There's a psychological phenomenon called emotional disengagement. It's the process by which a person slowly, quietly, and often unconsciously, begins to withdraw from a relationship while still physically present. Researchers studied over 2,000 divorced couples and found something haunting. In nearly 70% of cases, one partner had emotionally exited the relationship an average of 2 years before the actual separation. 2 years. 730 days of existing next to someone who had already said goodbye in their head. You see it everywhere once you know what to look for. The wife who stops arguing. Not because things got better, but because she stopped caring enough to fight. The husband who says whatever you want to every question, not out of kindness, but out of absence. The couple who still sits together at dinner but never asks each other a single real question. They're rehearsing the end. They're practicing being alone while still holding hands. And here's the part that makes your chest tight. The person being left is often the last one to know. They think everything is fine. Maybe a little distant, sure. Maybe she's been quieter lately. Maybe he doesn't laugh at your jokes the way he used to. But it's just a phase, right? People get busy. Life gets heavy. You tell yourself it'll pass. But what you're really watching is someone slowly becoming a stranger in front of you. And the cruelest part? They've already mourned the relationship. They've already cried. They've already imagined their life without you and made peace with it. So when they finally say the words out loud, they're calm. Even relieved. Meanwhile, you're shattered, because for you, the loss just began. For them, it ended long ago. In 2011, a psychologist named Dr. John Gottman published findings from his Love Lab, a research facility where couples were observed and studied for decades. He could predict with over 90% accuracy whether a couple would divorce, just by watching them interact for 15 minutes. But it wasn't the fighting that doomed them. It was the coldness. The contempt. The way one person would speak and the other would look away, not in anger, but in indifference. He called it turning away instead of turning toward. And once that pattern starts, it's almost impossible to reverse. Because you can't fight indifference. You can't argue someone back into caring. She left before she left because staying became unbearable, but leaving felt impossible. Maybe there were kids. Maybe there was a mortgage. Maybe she kept thinking it would get better, that he would notice, that something would change. So she stayed in body, but left in spirit. She became a ghost in her own life. And the most terrifying part? He never asked why she seemed so far away. He never noticed the light going out behind her eyes. This happens in friendships too. In families. You don't lose people all at once. You lose them in 1,000 tiny moments. The call they didn't return. The conversation that felt like work. The realization that you're no longer the person they think of when something good or bad happens. They've already replaced you in their inner world. You just haven't been told yet. And maybe you've been on the other side. Maybe you're the one who left before you left. Maybe you're reading this and feeling that sharp sting of recognition. Because you know what it's like to sit next to someone and feel completely alone. To try so hard for so long that one day you just stop trying. Not out of cruelty, but out of exhaustion. And maybe you feel guilty. Maybe you wonder if you gave up too soon. Or maybe you know, deep down, that you gave more than anyone should ever have to give. There's no villain in this story. Just two people who stopped meeting each other where they were. Who stopped asking the hard questions because they were afraid of the answers. Who let the distance grow because closing it felt like too much work. Here's what stays with you. The moment you realize someone left isn't the moment they walked out the door. It was months before. Maybe years. It was the Tuesday they stopped kissing you goodbye. The Saturday they stopped laughing at your stories. The night they said I'm fine when they clearly weren't, and you let it go because it was easier than digging deeper. She left before she left. And when she finally walked away, he acted shocked. But the truth is, he knew. Somewhere beneath the denial, beneath the distraction, he felt it. He just didn't want to believe it. Because believing it would mean he'd have to ask himself the one question nobody wants to answer. Could I have stopped this if I had paid attention? You don't lose people in the end. You lose them in the middle. And by the time you notice, they're already gone.